Friends, family members, truck drivers. Today's video, as you can see in the title, is going to be talking about your truck driving training that you start once you complete your classroom orientation. This is something that I've actually done multiple times since I've worked for multiple companies, and I feel safe to say that I've learned some things that I think would be valuable to share with you guys if you're currently in orientation and you're waiting to go into training, or if you're just considering becoming a truck driver and you're just now getting your foot into the industry. Before we jump into that though, what I want to say is, more than anything, what inspires me to continue to do these videos is just knowing how far of a reach this video is getting out. And the idea that a video that I make as soon as I post online can reach that far out, that's so dope to me. So what I look forward to the most when I make these videos is the engagement. I do my best to respond to every comment I see on my videos. For some reason, I don't get notified every time I get a comment, but the engagement is what drives me. I want to know where I'm reaching out to. So if you could just comment, just simply saying what city or state you're from, that means the world to me. Okay, but let's get to it. In no specific order, I'm going to go over some things that I think will be helpful to you. For my experienced drivers, if you have something that you want to share that I may have missed, definitely leave that in the comment section as well, so the new drivers that are coming after us can all learn from all of our experiences. So the first thing I'm going to say, what I would encourage you to do as a new driver is to try to get comfortable with speaking up for yourself. It can be intimidating enough to just be on a truck and be behind the wheel, but to additionally have somebody that you've never met watching you is only added pressure. That can make it easy for a person to really kind of subdue their own thoughts for certain concerns that you may have. And some of those concerns may even be safety concerns. The bottom line is your concerns aren't going to be able to get addressed if you're not speaking up for yourself and sharing that with your trainer. And part of what I mean when I say speak up is you may be dealing with a trainer that is trying to push you on certain limits, which is part of their responsibility. They have to do what they can to try to get you comfortable behind the wheel. As a new driver, you're going to naturally be uncomfortable at the beginning. So it is a part of their job, but if you feel like you're not ready to push certain boundaries yet because you're legitimately concerned that it may cause you to get in an accident or do something catastrophic, you got to speak up. I personally believe there's a right and wrong way to say anything. If it's something on your mind or something that you're just not comfortable with, you have to speak up and let the trainer know what's going on. Next, and this may just be a personal preference, I would advise maybe keeping personal conversations to a minimum. One thing's for certain, you're going to be in this very confined space with a person that you don't know for close to, if not more than a month. That's like the formula for getting into it with somebody. It can get rough. Who knows what type of issues you may have to deal with. But one thing's for sure is that there's a high chance that you're going to find something that gets on your nerves, or at the very least agitates you. When you engage in regular conversation with somebody, you start to build a rapport with that person, which may cause you to branch off into even more things to talk about. While doing that, it's easy to forget that this is a complete stranger. You don't know them, they don't know you. You don't know what things are sensitive spots for them, or vice versa. And all it takes is for you to say something in a joking manner that they take offense to, and you guys are at odds bumping heads. My mindset is the more conversations you have, the more opportunities you're giving yourself to find a disagreement that you have with that person. And a disagreement can lead to an argument. An argument can lead to a fight. Just minimize the whole thing. Keep the personal conversations to a minimum. Remind yourself that you're there to learn about the truck, to learn how to drive, and that's it. You're probably going to ask each other questions to kind of get to know each other, get familiar, because you guys have to find a way to adapt around each other within that space. Cool, no problem. I'm not saying don't engage in any personal conversations. I'm just saying it may be a good idea to minimize how many you do engage in. Trust me when I tell you this tip may be what gets you through your training time. Next point. As a new driver, it's very important that you do everything you can to respect that person's space. It may be a good idea to ask them to utilize certain things like their microwave, refrigerator, clean up after yourself. Just simple common courtesy, I would think. Do your best to kind of blend in without drastically changing anything that they already had in their truck. If their truck for the most part is clean, do what you can to keep it that way. If they have a dirty truck, you don't have to worry about it. Be aware of your comfort zone. Narrow roads is a common thing that a lot of new drivers are uncomfortable with. with. If your trainer's trying to encourage you to go whatever the speed limit is and you haven't built up the comfort level to do that, you have to make him or her aware of that. At the end of the day, there's nothing more important on that truck than safety. This somewhat goes back to the first point I made about speaking up. I know for me personally, one thing I struggle with during my training on the interstate in the truck, when the highway would curve to the left, especially if there was an overpass off the highway where it looked like your truck could roll over if you accidentally go straight. That was my weakness at high speeds. But I had to speak up for myself and just tell my trainer that, look, I have to approach these curves at a slower speed. I can't maintain these at the speed that you're comfortable with doing. Learn how to use the engine brake in the truck, also known as the Jake brake. So here is the lever to your engine brake right here. In order to activate it, what you do is you just pull it down. It has 3 different levels. The more you press it down, the more pressure is applied to your engine brake, which helps slow the truck down even more aggressively. As you'll see there, you'll see an engine green sign pop up on your dash there that lets you know that it's on. But this is an additional braking system that you use specifically for going down hills or mountains. The whole purpose of it is that you don't rely solely on your primary brakes to slow down your truck when you're going down a mountain or a steep hill, because if you do, you'll burn your brakes up and could completely destroy them. You obviously don't want that when you have 40,000 pounds or more packed into your trailer. So when you hear somebody say Jake brake, they're referring to this right here, your engine brake system. Learn how to use the engine brake in the truck, especially if you got to drive in the following states: Pennsylvania, Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Pennsylvania. I'm certain there's more states. Those are just states that I personally have driven in. And I can tell you from my own experience, you can't afford to not know how to use that if you have to drive in those states. And last but definitely not least, this is probably the most important thing I can share with you. Please do not get off of the truck too early. This is a mistake I made, and I'm sure that a lot of drivers that are new that get into the industry have made. When you're on a truck with a complete stranger for almost a month and you have to share a space that close to a person for that long of a time, it's going to seem like time is dragging ass and you're going to be ready to go home. This is definitely going to be more so the case if you have a family at home that you haven't seen in that time period, because you may be signed up to do a local job or a regional job where you go home every week, but you weren't aware that those home visits don't start until after your training. While you're in training, you have to be gone and on that truck for a month. So you're going to be eager to get home once it starts to approach the end of the expected time frame for you to be done. At that very moment is when you have to really remind yourself of the purpose of why you even got your license in the first place. Because I made the mistake of getting off too early and it almost cost me my CDL completely. Another thing that you absolutely cannot afford to do is to get off of the truck and you haven't efficiently learned how to consistently back up the truck. Backing is the key to this career path. Your BOL is not signed until you've successfully backed the truck and trailer into the designated spot. And this by far is one of the most difficult things that you're gonna have to learn when you're in training. Don't focus on how much time you have until you get off the truck, more so than focusing on your learning curves and what you need to make sure you're properly grasping from the training while you're there on the truck. I know I said my last point was my final one, but I actually have another point. This last one is actually for experienced drivers who have taken up the responsibility of becoming a trainer. I know there's a lot of you out there that have been driving for a very long time, and a lot of it is second nature to you. You've truly built habits that you don't even think about. You're not even aware of these things being learning curves anymore. But I can't stress the importance of what it means to remain patient with these new drivers. Try to empathize with them as new drivers and remember what it was like for you when you first started learning. You gotta know that everything that may seem like common sense to you isn't common sense to them. It's all brand new. Like, the mind in this industry as a truck driver literally has to develop the legs of what it's like to drive. There's just so many things that you have to adjust when you're learning to drive a big truck like this. From the way you make turns, and you have to be mindful of a 53-foot trailer on the back and make adjustments so that trailer can clear that turn. From the way it's recommended to go 10 miles below the speed limit on turns, and so much more. I can't even possibly list it all, but I can't stress that enough. Just do your best to be patient with them. The truth of the matter is, a lot of people have taken on the responsibility of being a trainer, and they have no damn business doing so. Some people took it up because of the money. These people have little to no patience, and it seems like they're not really giving you room for error. They're a new driver. They're gonna make errors. It's your job to look for those errors, expect those errors, so that you can correct them and guide them on the right path. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's a good bulk to start with. I'm sure there's more that I may have missed, but those are just things that from my experience I can share with you that I think would be very beneficial for you guys as new drivers getting into the trucking industry. If you found this video to be helpful, insightful in any way, you would really be helping out a lot if you hit the like button, so that way this video can get out to more people who may be looking for the same information. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I look forward to the engagement, so definitely let me know exactly where you're watching this from. But yeah, I look forward to hearing from you guys. Consider subscribing for more content. You can follow me on the following social sites listed below, and I look forward to bringing you guys more content in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.